How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Thursday's Weekly Aksys stream. My name is Sammy. Let's talk about Under Night. How to say, this is supposed to be like my sort of revisit to all the characters. I had basically spent a month and a half thinking about everything but Under Night because of getting ready for All Aksys. How are you liking the game so far? I love this game to death. I love this game. It's so good. The concept of playing two games at the same time, aka playing the grid game and playing the game in front of you at the same time, and having them both interact with each other, is a absurdly difficult concept to put together, in my opinion. It makes the game very complex, but also very interesting. I wanted to go over all of the characters for a little bit, all the characters that I went through, and I wanted to talk about sort of my impressions before and after the characters, after I played them, and because I definitely learned a lot and I changed my perspective on a lot of characters. Some a little less, some a little more. What's my favorite character? I am currently in a Akatsuki main. I'll come to it later. I might actually have wanted to learn how to play Linné after this was all said and done. I'll be honest, I've been playing Linné since I did the Linné stream. Linné's been a ton of fun. Linné's been a ton of fun. Not my type of game, but you're absolutely able to try this one. I would highly encourage it. This game has an unbelievably good tutorial system. Before learning a bunch of other characters, I kind of felt like my role with this character was to almost always down back, shield, get Warp Roll, and then sort of spend it in a way that allowed me to go in, right? And sort of one of the things I had not put a lot of emphasis on, good stagger windows and early rebeating. A lot of the times when I was playing this character, I would do stuff like this, right? And I would like wait until the very end in order to rebeat. And I had learned pretty quickly that you can get a lot more out of this character because he leans so far into his button. And so I think that opened up a lot of offense for me as well. Like, I really actually just used to go ham on my offense. And now it's a lot more like keeping it simple. I want to use plus frames. I want to use 0 on block in order to scare people. I want to get into this range and actually just down back sometimes. Some people will just like hang themselves that way. Stuff like that, right? I think it made me a way better player when I realized all of that. I felt so far behind when I had gone back and played this character. The character himself still requires you to understand the game at a basis level. Two things, actually, I noticed from Hyde players. I noticed a lot of Hyde players actually very comfortable with walking forward, not running. He has a ridiculous walk speed. I was like, you didn't really need to dash up for this, you know? The second thing I learned is the chip damage thing, right? So, like I was saying before, Hyde's Vorpal trait is that he does more chip damage with his sword normals. So you can see that when I do leg normal, when I do leg normal doesn't do chip, but if I do sword normals do chip, right? And when you're in normals or when you're in a regular state, they do a little bit of damage, right? You have a little bit of damage here. That does a lot of chip, but once you get into Warp Roll, you can see the difference. What is the difference on force function, right? Like, this is for immediate difference. Oops. For an immediate difference. That's what it normally does. This is what it does in Warp Roll. So, doing something like is like a chunk. Like, think about what that is on block. I realized, like, people got a lot comfortable with just like, well, I'm just gonna use a super evasive move called Dash C. Like, I kind of did a butt ton of damage. I did like half a throw with just this. So I learned that like the sword normal chip, I used to discount it quite a bit, but the shift of Under Night players thinking about the game as a set of finite resources instead of a set of tools. And this is sort of the main, I think, difference with how Under Night players think versus how other fighting game players think. When you think about that sort of mental shifts, you really think about this character in a different aspect. When you have that sort of comfortability, you sort of learn that these things add up into throws and combos, and then they become far scarier. Man, like this, I can't be here forever. I have to press buttons, you know? I have to do something, otherwise I'm just gonna lose. I never actually ever got down the Bitatsu combos. Did I lie? Oh my god, I did lie. For me personally, I think that Gordeau was... How do I say this? Playing Gordeau changed my perspective on him the most. When I think about Gordeau, I thought about a character that was like stupid hard to deal with once you're in this effective range, right? When you're in sort of round start, 5C, Mortal Slide range. But then I played this character, and it took a lot of Raito and Noctis really helped me out. So I think that like in terms of learning the character, I learned the most playing this guy, playing Gordeau. And I really saw myself like as someone who could learn a lot from playing Gordeau. It really honestly, like when I played this character, I was like, oh wow, like this is a character I really don't have the mindset for. And it really had to shift the way that I had to think about playing and stuff like that. One, I had always really rated how this character played up close. I thought like, wow, this character has so many great tools, you know. And then I realized when you play the character, how often this character got mashed on. Just how often this character just got punched out of things. And I went, man, this character's really slow. That was a revelation for me. And it changed how I played against the character too, because once I realized that like doing stuff like once you get to like into this range, like there's very little that reaches in that range that's not slow, like in terms from his like normal state. Like these are all of his normals, you know? You no longer have the strength, and if like let's say you're playing against Hyde like it's on the screen, you do not have control in this range. That was crazy to me. This character, I thought that the world was like, I thought this character, like the world was his oyster. I thought like he's strong here and he's strong like all the way up until here, and like he is good everywhere except for like full screen where like nothing obviously reaches, right? I played him and I'm like, no, he's actually only good in two very specific ranges. He's good here-ish and he's good here-ish, and like that is literally it. Like all of this middle ground here, like this big giant middle ground that I created, he sucks all of here and he sucks all of back here too. There's nothing good for me here. What happens up happening is this character ends up taking risks. He ends up having to do things like doing dash C, having to do things like Grim Reaper in the area. Stuff like that ends up really putting a damper on how offensive you want to play. I did have a ton of fun playing the character though. He has a lot of really interesting play styles that are very unique to him. So, and a lot of them come around the idea of having this command grab and having a super version of this command grab. I thought it was the range before. I really did. It's not. He's trying to use this range to get into this range. This character is very unique in the sense that once he has meter, he makes you guess in a way other characters don't on defense, or on your offense, which is that he has the thing that catches you if you're doing stuff on the ground. Then he has that, which would be the other response, right? His meter is very well spent on defensive mechanics. Gordeau's does change. I can see why people love playing this character. In a sense, this character is more dynamic than a lot of the rest of the cast. there's a few characters that sort of change the way that they have to think about their entirety of their character depending on who's the opponent. My favorite thing that I learned with this character is to wake up mash to C. I think learning the wake up mash to C was like the revelation of a lifetime. Is that I think that it is a very reasonable thing for you to compare Akatsuki and Wagner because they're both characters that excel in the 1/3 range, or aka the up close range. They both excel in this sort of range right here, from here to here. I think that when you're talking about that comparison, one of the things that I had really sort of learned with the character when I started playing her is the value of stagger windows. When I learned the value of her stagger windows, like, and what pressing stagger buttons meant, I think every character opened up with me. Every character got better. I became, honestly, I truly mean this, I became a better player after learning Wagner. And the reason why I became a better player is because I learned two extremely important things. I learned, one, the value of stagger windows. When I learned what a good stagger window is, I learned what the game meant to Wagner and how that game could be applied to everybody else. I was like originally in my head when I thought -2, I thought -2, well, -2 is a bad place to be. What I had learned later on is that it's actually one of the scariest places that an opponent can be is -2. And that's, for Wagner, the reason why that is because she has two great things that go for her. One, absurdly strong stagger windows. When I started learning this character, I was like, oh man, like she's always feels like she's ready to party. She's always feels like she's ready to go in. And then I learned that, like, no, she actually kind of has to, like, wait for her moment, especially in Claire. Like, she doesn't get to just, like, shield in for free. She has to really pick her moment. There's very few things in fighting games that make you feel as powerful as that when you have double buffs without them. Let me tell you, you have 100 meter with this character and you're doing this? Oh man, you're like, I'm the best player in the world right now. Bro, I had 100 meter and I did 2-2-C. I'm the best player ever. Only a player like me could get +8 or +9, I forgot. Really, like, truly, honestly, when you start playing Wagner and you're just doing stuff like this, right? And you get a throw without using buffs yet, you're like, I see you've fallen for my tricks. You thought that because I have 2 buffs, that because my sword and my shield are both on fire, you thought I was going to do a block string and use up these buffs, but no! I have fooled you, sir. Once I've gotten double buffs, I have gone for a measly throw, a thing that I could have done before these buffs. Before these buffs, I have You're so, like, that so when you get characters like that, what they should do is put confidence in you to either play one of two ways. Either just to go ham, right? Just to go balls to the wall. Like, if I get one hit, you're dead, right? So I'm just gonna wake up DP. I'm just gonna, like, wake up 2A. I'm just gonna play like a savage. And, like, if you get hit by it, it's your fault. Whatever, bro. Like, it's not, like, if I wake up 2A and you get hit, like, is it my problem? No, it's your problem. Deal with it, right? Or it will teach you very simply, like, I can just down back. Shield, wait for Vorpal. Oh, sick, it's my turn? Time to go in. That sort of thing, right? Out of the 5 characters I showed today, even though one of them is currently my main, I have played Lene the most since I have learned about the characters. And the second most I played was Gordeau. Anyway, Lene. So, Lene really is like one of those characters I think that can teach you a tremendous amount about the game. I said this when we went over the character and the character breakdown, but I think she's the character, like outside of her, maybe Eltnum, that can teach you more about the mechanics of the game more than any other character. I think that this character teaches you the mechanics, and then like maybe Eltnum is more like the Ryu of the game. She ends up having a lot of tools, and she controls certain spaces very well, and she sort of gets you to understand the sort of the threats of the game in a very big way. Linnae doesn't teach you the threats of the game per se, but she teaches you sort of how to use the core mechanics to your advantage in a huge way. I think that she pretty much encompasses everything that you need to know for the game and a little bit more, and she's a good starting point for a lot of players, because she embodies a very simple strike throw playstyle, even simpler, more simple than Wagner. Playing this character really taught me like one huge thing, is just the strength of what dashing up is, right? Like just dashing in range and just sitting in this range right here. Oops. And just dashing up and going into a certain range, right? So like if you're in this range, don't think about dashing up all the way up here, but rather dash up into this range. Because now what becomes scary? Kugo becomes scary. 66C becomes scary. In fact, even that you can do B Kugas. She has her fastest low is an 8-frame low, and her most inconspicuous low is a 10-frame low. It's kind of weird, but you sort of get used to it. So what does that do though? What does that do? What it makes it so that you're not really hoping or crutching on the fact that you have lows in order for you to open up to your opponent. You're very much just a hardcore strike throw character, and your goal is to reset into plus frames or reset into pressure and get people to be scared about this very simple strike throw pressure. The point being is that like you can get people to be baited into your stagger throw pressure, right? Because if you're trying to reset, then you get hit. If you try to do 2 A's in a row, oops, let me turn them off for a second. If you're trying to do something like that, then you'll get hit. You sort of have to crutch on doing your very little stagger window. Like, remember how long I was able to hit a button with Wagner? Like, you can see like the button timing that I'm hitting afterwards. It's like 14, 18 frames. I'm trying to get it down to like 12 frames. There it is. Oops. 11. There you go. That's close enough. But that's sort of where your stagger window is, which is much worse than a character like Wagner, who can really extend her stagger window to like a great deal, right? So what does that mean? That means that you really have to focus on sort of getting people to bite into doing like this and getting people to press buttons in that, and then responding with creating gaps with your normal block strings accordingly. And then once they get blocking, then you sort of go back into doing a throw animation. So she doesn't have overheads. She doesn't have lows, as we talked about. She has strikes and she has throws. And the second reason why we can say that her game is based around the strike throw game is because her Oki is very good after strike throw. Because it leaves them right in front of you afterwards, it gives you the ability to do another throw, or it gives you the ability to do a meaty into another throw. Like I said, this is a character that I've been playing the most. I think that this character has a lot of things that make her really fun, but I think she's also a hard character to play at the highest level. That's why I'm such a big fan of guys, especially the East Coast Linnae players like Miller2B and Brandon. Those guys just blow me away in terms of their skill. This is a character that is not easy to play because of the things that I'm stating. You have to really know how to play the game well, but not only do you really have to know how to play the game well, but you also know how to play the opponent very well. These are both sides of the story that you sort of have to understand in order to play this character at the highest level. That's why you see so few at the highest level. Thank you guys for joining me on literally just me talking about Under Night for 2 hours. That was a ton of fun. But until then, I appreciate everybody who stuck around for me literally just rambling all about Under Night for 2 hours. I didn't play any games. I didn't do an exhibition. I just talked about Under Night for 2 hours, and people came through. That makes me really happy, honestly. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys have a good Thursday. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Hope to see you guys next Thursday for some exhibition action. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.